Object oriented programming system or object oriented programming in ABAP. What do you guys know about object oriented?
There are classes, and
Yeah,
these
that's
classes
good.
are like
What is
blueprints. You
class?
can they're like blueprints for objects.
Blueprint
You
for
can
object. That's good. So OOPS stands for, also known as OOPS. OOPS stands for object oriented programming system. Object oriented programming system. Okay. So OOPS or object oriented programming is based on two things. Classes and objects. First is class, second one is your object. It is based on two things, classes and object. As told by Ellen, a class is a blueprint for creating objects. So suppose if I have to build a house, what I will do, I will go to the builder. That builder will simply show me some blueprints of the house, right? He is going to show me the structures of the house, and I will select one of them, and according to that the house will be built, right? Also, if I want some modification, I will suggest some modification will be done. So a class is a blueprint for creating objects. It defines the properties. It defines the properties, which is data and behavior. In a class, you are going to see two things, properties and behavior. Behavior means methods. You can call it a function also, but in SAP, they both are different things, function, modules and methods that objects of the class will have. Okay. Also, a class consists of lots of things. A class consists of methods, attributes, events, interfaces, etc. It consists of lots of things. Methods, attributes, events, interfaces, etc. What is object? Object is nothing but it is an instance of class. An object is an instance of the class. It's an instance of the class. Okay. An object is an instance of the class. So how many classes are there in SAP? Types of classes.
public, private.
No. That is not a class.
Ah,
Types of classes. That is something else. We will see that. Okay.
mhm.
Types of classes. We have two types of class in SAP. First one is your global class. Global class, once defined, we can call it in any program or any function module also. And then we have local class, global class and local class. So what is a global class? A global class is a class that can be accessed from any ABAP program. That can be accessed from any ABAP program within the same system. In the same system. A global class is a class that can be accessed from any ABAP program within the same system. Then global classes are defined. Classes are defined in the global class pool that are available throughout the system. Okay. We can create global classes from SE24 transaction code. We can create them from SE24 transaction code. This thing we must remember, SE24 is the transaction code which is used for creating global class, Then we have local class. So in ABAP programming, a local class is a class that defines that is defined within the scope of another ABAP program or function module, which is defined within the scope of another ABAP program or function module. Unlike global classes, local classes cannot be accessed outside of the program. Cannot be accessed outside of the program. They cannot be accessed outside of the program. They are limited to a particular program part only. So what you are going to see, the syntax of a local class is going to be first class declaration part. So here we will define the declaration part of the class, and then we'll have another one which is implementation part. So class implementation. So here we will have the logic part of our class implementation. So declaration part will be there and logic part will be there. So two types of classes, global and local class. Then if you talk about the global class that given by SAP, it is also of four types. So types of global classes. First one is your usual ABAP class. Okay. So this is the mostly used global class. This is the mostly used global class. Normal class, whenever we create any global class, mostly we only go for this usual ABAP class. Then we have another one, exception class. An exception class is a type of class. An exception class is a special type of class which is used for defining custom exceptions. So this one is second variety. Then we have persistence class. So it refers to, or this class is mainly used um, to perform interaction with the persistent storage like database. So this class is mainly used to perform interaction with the persistent storage like database, mainly used for performing database operation. And at last we have unit test class. Okay, so it is used for testing purpose. If you want to perform some test functionality of individual unit of code, it is used for testing the functionality of individual units of code. Then we are going to use this unit test class. Four types of global classes: usual ABAP class, exception class, persistent class, and unit test class. Then we have the normal local classes which we can use locally. The scope of local classes are directly within the same program. They cannot be called outside of the program, right? So let's see the creation. I will go to my SAP system. I will log in. I will go to AC24, and here I will give a name. Let's say I'm giving the usual ABAP class. Okay, 01. First ABAP class. I'm going for it. Create button. Select class and go for OK. This pop-up screen is going to come, and you can see here 4 types of usual ABAP classes are there. You can select any one of them according to your choice. In the description, first I will give a short description. So usual ABAP class. Then you can see here its type, usual ABAP, exception, persistence, and test. I am going for usual ABAP class. Okay. Then here a final checkbox is here. Automatic final checkbox is here. We will discuss it. For now, just click on save button. Assign the package and transport request. Okay. So this is the section of your object-oriented programming class. Here you will see the properties tab, interfaces, friends, attributes, methods, events, types, and aliases. All of them are the properties of a class. All of them are the properties of a class here. Now let's take a requirement. My requirement is, let's take a requirement so that we can easily understand it. 2 requirement I am going to take. So requirement 1, requirement 1, and then requirement 2. Take input in form of select option, and return the employee data. Okay. Then in the requirement 1, I will select take input in form of parameter, and return the employee data based on that. Employee data. Pretty simple. 2 things we are going to check. So I will simply go to my SAP system. I will go for methods. Here we declare our methods part. I will declare one method. So let's say I'm declaring a method employee details. A method I'm declaring employee details. Now we have level option. If you will click on this level, you will check that we have instance method and static method. So what is instance and static method? So levels of a method. First one is instance. Instance means it can be accessed only by objects. So we must create it. We must create the object, then and only then we can access it. Otherwise, we can go for static. So it can be accessed by class name as well as its objects. It can be accessed by class names as well as its objects also. So you can select any of the properties. For now, let's say I'm going for instance. Okay. Then we have visibility option. Now if you will click on visibility, you will see 3 things: public, protected, and private. So visibility of a method, visibility of a method. First one, public. If you are making a method public, it can be accessed within the class, within the child class. We will see the child class, what is and all these things within the child class, and outside the class also. Okay, then if you are making it private, this can be accessed only within the same class, within the same class. We cannot access it neither in the child class nor outside. Then the third one, protected. So some property can be protected. You only want to access by your child or by yourself, not others can, nobody else should access that. So that is why we have protected here. So can be accessed within the class, within the class, and within the subclass or child class, but not outside the class, but not outside the class. Okay, but not outside the class. So I will simply select it public for now, save it, and in the description I will give a short description to display the employee details. I'm simply passing a short description. Then we need to pass the parameters. Go for the parameter section, and here if you will check the type, you will have four options: importing, exporting, changing, and returning. Importing is for taking input from the user. Exporting is to give the output to the user. Changing can work both input and output, importing and exporting, that we have seen in case of function module also. And then we have the returning. We can have only one returning parameter for a function, for a method, at most one, or minimum zero, but at most one, because this is returning parameter. If you want to return something, so at last you can use it. So my requirement is I want to take input in form of parameter, and I want to take input in form of select option. We already know for select option we need a table type, right? We need a table type for with the component sign option low and high that we have created, if you remember it. And then for the parameter we can directly pass the data elements thing. Okay, so I am simply going to bring it. I will go to SE level and I will bring the data element, data type, sorry, table name, my employee table, and I will copy its data element. Okay, for parameter, we need to pass it. So parameter p employee ID. In the type, I will make it importing. I will make it importing. And in the associated type, I am going to pass it. Then we have select option also. So as emp ID, I will also make it importing. Importing. And for the associated type, I need a table type this time. We already know for select option, in case of function module, we have saw that we must create a select option. So if we want, we will go there and we will check the table type that we had created once. Let me check whether it is or not. No, it is not. Yeah, employee table. Let's try this one. Yes, this one. Perfect. Structure is there and then table type is there. Just copy it and paste it here. Okay, pretty simple. Then we need exporting parameter also, right? We need exporting parameter also. So we are simply going to pass the exporting parameter. I will pass here exporting parameter lt table. This will be my exporting parameter, and I am going to pass its type. So we need again a table type. Let's go and bring our table type. This is my employee table. No, it's not exist. This one. It contains, yeah, it contains 4 columns. We can use this. Let's copy it and let's use it. Okay, pretty simple. We can also pass the exceptions directly from here. Go for exceptions tab, and let's say I'm passing some exception, wrong input or wrong employee ID. and I will give a description. Employee ID do not exist. Do not exist. Okay. This is it. Now click on source code and you will go to logic section. This is inside the method you are going to write all your logic. And similar to function module, we are getting it. See here, parameter. This is importing, this will be exporting, and this is the exceptions tab which we can use here for writing the logic part. So I will simply write the logic. If my P employee ID is not empty, ID is not initial, then I will write logic for one thing. So select employee ID, employee name from my table name into table LT employee, into table LT table. This is my exporting parameter LT table, where employee ID is equal to P employee ID. Okay. Then if LT table, if LT table is not initial, is initial, we will raise the exception. We are going to raise the exception. So raise my exception name, which is wrong employee ID. So if user is sending some parameter, we will return this. Or if user is sending select option, we are going to return that also. Else if SEMP ID is not initial, we are going to return this for select option. So let's copy this and we will simply pass here, and this time we are going to change it in S employee ID. Okay, whether it is parameter or select option, both time my code is going to work. Let's pretty printer and activate it out. It has been activated. Any questions here?
No, no
No.
questions.
Okay, so this is the creation of method. Now if you check the parameters, this is importing. If you want, you can make it optional also. If you want, you can make it optional also. It's totally up to you. If you want, you can make it optional also, so it will not be mandatory. You can send any one of these values. I'm going to simply activate it and I'm going to check the output. So I will go for this execute button. Okay, and I'm going to pass some input. Let's say I'm passing 101 value. I'm clicking on execute. See, it's returning me. Okay, it's not returning me department and manager. Why? Let me check the code, source code. Okay, I've not given the rest of the column names. So department manager, and here also department manager. Okay, let's activate that. We can simply check the value directly for the similar to our function module. We can directly execute our classes here and we can check the output. Go for it, pass the value. For I am going for uh, employee ID parameter. Yes, now it's returning with the correct result. If I will pass some wrong value, let's say I'm passing some wrong value here, 111, execute, it is raising the exception. Perfect. Then I will go for select option. I will go for select option and I will pass some value here, IBT 101 or up to 105, come back and execute it. Yes, it is returning me the results. So my class is working perfectly fine. My class is working perfectly fine. Activate it. This is the creation of program, creation of a usual ABAP class from SC24, right? Now we can simply call it. We can simply call it in our program also. Just copy this class name and go to AC38. Okay. So Z calling in class to program. I'm simply going to call it. So calling usual ABAP class to ABAP program. I'm simply calling it here. Executable package and transport request. So we need to declare the structures, right? Same to same structure we need to declare here. I will declare it. Structure should be same, otherwise we will get error. Employee ID, type its data element. Employee name, type its data element, right? Same thing from our table. Department and manager also, its data element. Then manager column also, its data element. Okay, pretty simple. Then we will go for declaration part. So LT employee, type table of TY employee, and we will go for work area declaration. This is what we do always. Type TY employee, right? Then we create parameters and select options. So let's create that. Parameter PMPID, type its data element. Then we go for select options. So select option SEMPID for my variable name. Let's declare that variable also. Data LVMPID, type data element of the variable. Okay. I have declared this variable for it. Now I am declaring the select option. This is what we do. Then we usually write the logic, and at last we display it. So loop at my LT employee into LS employee, and loop display the data, right? We display the data. So LS employee ID, then LS employee name, LS employee department, and LS employee manager. Okay, this is what we do. But where is my selection logic now? Selection logic is inside the method. We need to call it. How we are going to call our method? So I'll go for pattern. But what kind of class we have created? What kind of method we have created? This is the method that we have created is a method, instance method. We cannot access it from our class. We can class name. We need a object creation. So how to declare the object, or how to create the object? How to create the object? First thing, declare the object. Declare the object. Declare the object and then create it. First way is this. Another way is we can create the object using new keyword, which is the part of 7.4 syntax. Two ways are there. Let's see them. So I will go for declaration part. I'm going to simply declare my object data hello object, or hello object. Type ref2 keyword is used. type ref2 keyword is used, and we pass the name of class here. Okay, we pass the name of the class. Then we will go for create object hello underscore object. We go for create object hello underscore object. Okay, this is how we create it. Now I will call the method. So pattern ABAP object pattern, and here I am going to pass the instance name. What is the name of the instance? Hello object. Okay, object name hello object that we have created. Then we will pass the name of the class. So copy the name of the class and pass here. Then we have this method. So I will copy the name of the method and I will pass here. Okay, and press enter. See, something is here, right? So exporting comment on comment. I will first send the parameter PMP ID, and then I will bring the data importing in my LT employee, right? I'll bring it. Then I will uncomment the exceptions. So we have here 1. Let's write the logic for it. If size of RC is not equals to 0, I'm going to simply give a error message. So message employee data do not exist, type E for error. Otherwise I will give a success message. So message employee data exist, type success. Let's check that. This is going to call my method. Object name, can you see here? Object name arrow followed by method name. This is an instance method, arrow here. When you see a single arrow, it simply means it is a instance method. Go and execute it. I'm passing a parameter here. I'm clicking on execute. I'm getting the success message. What is happening here? If you want to check, put a debugger, execute, and go and check. Pass the value 101. Go and check it out. Desktop 3. Go inside this method. So click on F5. F5 will take you inside the method. Now you can check if P employee ID is not initial. This method is going to trigger, right? This method is going to trigger. It will return you some value here. It is going to return you some value. Okay, and it will get you the output. Employee data exist. It will return you the output. If you want, you can check the select option also. So we can pass the select option also. SEMP ID. For select option, we must pass these brackets. We have seen it in the function module. It is mandatory. We can pass the select option also. Now check this one also. Put a debugger here. Execute. And let's say I'm passing some value 101, 105. Execute button. I will go for desktop 3 here, right? And I will go inside it. Now again I will check if P employee is not initial. Yeah, it is not empty. But sorry, it is empty. So it will go for else if condition. It will go for else if. This logic will be triggered. It will return you data here. It is going to return you some data here, right? 5 records are coming, and then we will come out of the loop and we are getting this correct message, employee data exists, and we are getting the output, right? We are getting the output. So what if I am passing wrong result here? Let's say I'm passing some wrong value 110 up to 115. Execute. See, error message, employee data do not exist. It is working perfectly fine. Yeah. So this is your global class. Global class or usual ABAP class created from SE24. I have created a method, and this method was instance method. That is why we needed to create a object. But what if I am changing its property to a static method? Now if I'm changing its property to static method, what is going to happen? Let's activate it, make it static. Now we don't need the objects here. We don't need the objects. We don't need the objects here. We can directly call our method using the class name, because static is the class property. Static is the class property. We can directly call it. We can directly call it. So go for it. Pattern, wrap object pattern. Here we don't need the objects now. Just pass the class name, method name, and press enter. See the clear difference. Here we have employee at sign, and here we add single arrow. Here we have employee at sign. So this is the clear difference between your instance method and static method. Static is the class property. We can directly access any of thing using the class name. This is the static property. We can directly access using the class name. The same thing is here. Now pass it. Pass your exporting parameter. Pass your exporting parameter and import the data. Let's say LT employee. Pass the exceptions and activate it. Pass some value here. Let's say I'm passing 105. Execute. See, I'm getting the correct result still. Right? I'm getting the correct result. So whether you want, you can go for instance methods, or if you want, you can go for static method also. It's totally up to you which method you want to use here. Nobody is going to question on that. You can use any of them, totally depending upon the requirement. So any doubt here?
No.
No.
Is it clear? We can also declare it. We will see another kind of declaration also. But let's see the local classes now. So local classes are a type of class that is defined within the scope of another program or function module. We can directly define it, and its scope is we can only use it inside the same program only. How to define that? We have a declaration part, and then we have a implementation part, right? We have a declaration part, and then we have a implementation part. So I will go for that also. Let's go for it. Let's create another program. The local class. Okay, local class in ABAP programming. Okay, type I will go for executable package and transport request. So here I will again declare those structures. I will simply copy it from my previous program. Let's bring that. Oh, sorry, SC38. SC38. Calling class to program display. I'm simply going to use these parameters and select options up to this. Copy here. Here the select option. SEMP ID for my LVMP ID. LVMP ID. Perfect. Normal declaration. Then we go for class definition. Class definition. So first declaration of class. Okay. So I'm going to define same to same class here also. Class. Let's say I'm naming it employee data definition part. Class definition and class. Now in this class, what you are going to see, we will have sections here. Public section, private section, protected section, and private section. This is how we define it. So something which is public, it can be accessed in the child class. it can be accessed in the other classes also. Something which is protected, it can be accessed only inside the child class and the same class. Something which is private, it can be accessed only within this class. Even child class don't have that property. So public class, let's say I'm declaring a method here. So methods declaration part, this is the definition. Methods, you can define any number of methods here. Same to same, I'm going to define here. What was the name of our method? Employee details. Copy that, employee details. Then I will have importing parameter. Importing, I will name it let's say PEMP importing parameter, and its type I need. So what was the type of our select option that we have given? Just copy it, let's use it here. Okay, then exporting parameter we will also define. Same way, whatever interface is here, you can define it locally also. So exporting, then you can define the exporting parameter, lt table, its type, and you can give the exporting parameter also, type. Okay, this is my method declaration. So this is your class definition. Then we will go for class implementation. So class emp data implementation and class. Okay, now here we are going to write the logic part. Here we are going to simply write the logic part. Okay, so method name is employee details, and in it you can write the logic. So select emp id, emp name. Just remember one thing, we are going to write the logic based on this importing and exporting parameters. Do not write logic based on this declaration part. Here our logic will be based on these things. Whenever you will call this method, then you are going to do all those stuff. Okay, so department manager, from your table name, which is employee table, into table my exporting parameter, which is lt table. Its type is similar, where employee id, emp id, in my importing parameter pemp id. Okay, so pass it here. It is going to return me some data. Class definition and class implementation, same thing I had told. Class definition and class implementation, definition part and implementation part. Okay, definition part. Then we will declare the start of selection, and we will define the object here. So there is another way to define the object. Data lobj is equal to new class name, new keyword class name, followed by parenthesis. You can define via this way, or you can define via the old syntax, which is lo, let's say lo object type ref2, first storing the reference of the class emp data, and then creating the object. So create object lo underscore object. Totally up to you whether you want to use this thing or whether you want to use this thing. This new is used mainly in C++ and Java programming. From there SAP has taken this reference. That's why we are using it. You can use it also. Okay, this is the definition, a creation of object. Now once object is created, I can call my method. So let's call it. We can use our syntax, call method, my object name lo object, and then arrow followed by method name, which is employee details, right? Employee details. Then we will have our exporting parameter. Exporting, what is the name of the parameter? P employee id. So PEMP id, we will export our data, which is SEMP id. We will export and we will import our internal table. LT table is equal to my LT employee. We are going to import here. Okay. We can also check if size of RC is not equal to 0. RC not equals to 0. I will simply declare a error message. So employee ID is not correct. I'm going to declare a error message type E. Else I will declare a success message. So message employee data exists. Okay, type success. Then I will display it. So loop at LT employee into ls employee and loop and simply display the data. So write statement, column names, all the name of the columns that are here, employee name, department column, next column, right, all of them. So either you can call the method via this approach which we saw in the previous session, that when we call from pattern in the same way it is called, or you can do one thing, you can call via new way also. There is a new way to call the method. The new way is hello object name, which is obj, and we will pass the method name, employee details, this will be obj, yeah, employee details, and in it we are going to pass the exporting keyword. Okay, exporting keyword here, PEMP ID is equal to my SEMP ID, and then I will pass importing LT table is equal to LT employee. Okay, we can go for this way also. It's totally up to you how you want to call. Okay, you can use this way, you can use this way. Both of them are same thing. Let's check for syntax. No error, activate it. I'm going to put a debugger over here, execute. I will pass some input, correct one, 105, execute it, desktop 3. So this is my parameter. At this moment there is no result here. Now if you double click on hello object, go for it and check it. Hello object contains the attribute of my employee data, which is my table. See here, it is in this particular class, it contains this reference of this particular object of, sorry, reference of this particular class. This is a object here, this is a object, right? Now if I go inside it, I will click on F5, it will take me inside the implementation part of class, and here we are going to get the result. So LT table will get the result. As soon as LT table will get the result, this result will be simply passed. This result will be simply passed to LT employee also. LT employee is getting result here. So size of RC is equal to 0, right? Size of RC is equal to 0. This error message will not be displayed. Success message will be displayed, and we will get the output, right? Check it. We are getting the output. We are getting the output. If you will pass incorrect value here, you will get this error message. Check it. 111, 115. Click on execute. See, it's not coming. Why? There is some problem. Say size of RC is still equal to 0. How is that possible? Let's check. 111, 115. Execute. Are we getting the data? No, but size of RC is 0. Okay. Okay, we can do one thing here. We can give if LT employee is not initial. If LT employee is not initial, that will be more okay. Is initial, yeah. If it is empty, I will give the error message. If it is not empty, I will give the success message. Let's check. Execute, pass the value, execute it. See, employee ID is not correct, right? So local class versus global class. Local class versus global class. Global class, the scope of global class is everywhere. We can call it from any place, but local classes cannot be called from any other place. Local classes cannot be called from any other program. Okay. Any questions here? What is local and global class and all these things?
No, no questions.
Clear?
Mhm.
So some properties of classes. First one, inheritance. Very typical word, inheritance. So inheritance simply means we are acquiring some property of our parent. We all are child, we all are object of human class. So my parent is there. So let's say if there is parent class, there will be a child class also. So I have some property of my parent. You all have some properties of your parents also. This concept is known as inheritance. Inheritance is creating a child class. Inheritance is creating a child class or subclass, same thing, just different words, from a parent class. From a parent class. Inheritance is creating a child class or subclass from a parent class. So what it allows? Inheritance allows us, inheritance inheritance allows us to inherit properties and behaviors. Class will always have only two things: properties, it can be attributes, data, everything is a property, attributes, and behaviors, which is method. Behaviors, which is method. Inheritance allows us to inherit properties from uh, from one class to another class, or from parent class to child class. Child class. In ABAP, we use inheriting from keyword. Inheriting from keyword to specify the parent class, okay, from which the child class will inherit. We specify the inheriting from keyword. This particular keyword is used. Keyword, okay. Okay, inheriting from keyword is used. Then with this inheritance, we have a concept of final class also. We have a concept of final class also. If you remember, when we created our this usual ABAP class, on that pop-up icon there was a checkbox final class, and I told you we will see it later. So if you check in the properties, it has been logged out. Okay, let me reopen. If we check the properties of this class, display properties, we are going to see this class is final here, right? So this is the same thing, checkbox that we have selected from there, final. So what is a final class? A final class is a class which cannot be inherited. Class is a class which cannot be inherited. Not be inherited. Let's say a guy did not married, so he will not have any children, so he will become the final class, right? So a final class is a class which cannot be inherited. In ABAP we use final keyword to mark a class as final class. We give the final keyword in the definition. So a final class cannot be subclassed. A final class cannot be subclassed, meaning we cannot create any child classes from this final class. We cannot create any child classes from this final class. So at this moment we have this final class. If I will try to create a child class for this one, it is going to allow me or not. Let's check. I will go to SE38. I will define a concept here, inheritance program, inheritance final class. Okay, create inheritance and final class. Type executable. So let's say I am defining a child class here, class child, inherit definition, inheriting from the parent class. Let's say I'm passing it. Okay, I'm passing it and I'm giving here end class. Now if I will go for syntax check, see the error. The final class cannot have any subclasses. At this moment we have marked this as a final, that is why it is not allowing. If you want, unmark it and activate it. Now try that. See, no error. We can have the subclasses. We can have the subclasses of it also. So this subclass is going to simply access, this class is simply going to access the properties of this class also. It will have this method also. It will have this method. So if you create any object of this class, it can access all the properties of this thing. Let's check it out. I will declare the structures. SE38, I'm going to declare the structure. Calling class to program local class. Bring the structure and select option. Okay, and I'm going to create the object of this child class, start of selection. I will create a object of it. Hello obj is equal to new keyword, my class name child. Okay, this is the declaration, and I'm simply calling the method of this child now. So hello obj. We can also use that thing also, pattern, web object pattern, hello obj, our class name child, and our method name. Let's see that whether it is calling from this interface or no. Employee details, pass here. Okay, so for local classes this do not allow us, we will have to manually call it. All right, so hello obj, our method name, employee details. We will have exporting parameter. What is the exporting parameter in it? Select option of this type. Okay, so select option is equal to my S employee ID from here, and we will have a importing parameter also. We will bring the data. LT table is equal to my LT employee. right? Done. I will simply display it. Okay, let's display it. So loop, where is my loop? I'm going to display it. I'm going to simply display it. I have created the object of my child class. I'm trying to access this method which is inside the parent class. Let's check it out. Execute, pass some value and check. Yeah, it's working. We are getting the results. We are getting the results perfectly fine. It's working, right? It's working. Same thing we can do here for local classes also. If you don't want from global class, let's say I'm defining this same global class, local class there. Class definition, then class implementation, class implementation. So definition, let's name it parent. I'm naming this class as parent so that it will be easier for us to understand. And this parent also, class parent definition, class parent implementation, and let's say I'm inheriting from my parent class now. Instead of this one, I'm inheriting from my parent class. So this child class will inherit the feature of parent class. We have a method here, employee details. This employee details will receive this as a importing parameter. Oh, we have p employee id here, so let's change it to p employee id. Then we have lt table. Okay, it's fine. Lt table will receive the data and we will get the output, right? So let's check that. Some problem is there. Class and class. Only methods can be defined between class implementation and type child is unknown. Wait a second. Oh, sorry. This end class is missing here. End class. No, it's fine. Check, activate, execute, pass the value and get the result, right? Still working. You can use global, local, same to same approach. Totally up to you which one you want to use, right? Any questions?
No
No
questions.
question.
Is it clear?
Hmm.
Hmm?
Okay. All right. So inheritance and final classes. Then we have abstract class, abstract class, abstract class. So abstract class is a type of class. Abstract class is a type of class that cannot be instantiated. First thing, that cannot be instantiated. That is, we cannot create any object that cannot be instantiated, that we cannot create any object. Instead, it serves as a blueprint, serves as a blueprint, as a blueprint for other classes. Serves as a blueprint for other classes. Okay. So using this class, we will create subclasses and then we can create the objects. But we cannot create any object of direct abstract class. What is abstract class? A class that cannot be instantiated. Then it is a special type of class. Special type of class. Type of class in which which type of class which has at least at least at least one abstract method. Is a special type of class which has at least one abstract method. What is abstract method? Mukul, what is abstract method? Do you remember your college days?
No, not sure.
Okay. So abstract method is a method whose definition part is there, implementation is not there, only definition. So abstract method is a type of method which only method which only or which has only definition but not any implementation, which only has definition but there is no implementation. Okay, we cannot create objects, of abstract class, cannot create it. However, we can create objects of subclasses of abstract class. We can create object of subclasses of abstract class. Okay, is it clear?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'll this is all for today. I'll